So honored and pleased today to have Melissa Houston with us and Gretchen Skalka. You know Gretchen every Monday for the last, I don't know how many months, Gretchen's been here, and Gretchen's been foundational to what we've been able to develop because this has been a weave. I started out looking for best practices. Within a couple minutes, I knew that's what people didn't need as much. It'd be great to have. It was mental health, attitude, anxiety, depression. It's rampant, and people are bubbling over with ways to express it, but can't find trusted groups. So with that said, I'm going to open up open chat. It was a huge success yesterday. I want to get as many people to be seen, heard, and bring value. You know, this is not a promotional what I got going for sale this week. This is more get to know me. And what one should do is then go to people's profiles after this. Look at who's on the right, pick up those names, reach out individually. You know, if you got a message or a promotion, that's how you should do it. So anyways, Melissa's new, but not new to me. I just met within a week, and that's how fast things can roll. Is we got on a cool call. I got to learn a lot about Melissa, and her story is inspirational and aspirational. And she is also that, right? Some people have a story and they're not really living it. They're telling it, right? And when you're actually living it, it makes all difference. So Melissa, say hello to our burgeoning audience. I'll start flipping out these comments here.
Okay, hello guys. Who do we have?
We got
Listen, guys, if you don't know me, you got to go look at my profile. It kind of speaks for itself, but you're going to have to expect glitter and color and fun. I mean, the light shows behind me. This is me. Lots of circles, lots of sparkle. We'll get to know each other. Just come connect.
Yeah, and Gretchen, you can share maybe an update and you know what you're seeing about this show, how it's impacting you and the way you do things. Because, you know, everybody wants to know someone else's story, right? So what's new and exciting, Gretchen?
Yeah, so I am thrilled to have Melissa join today. She does not do video very often, but she is branching out, which is a really good thing because I think more people really need to get to know her and learn from her and be inspired by her. She's an important person that I do think a lot of people need to know, as is Stephen Eng. I see you in the crowd. I see Paul Deutsch out there, Alex Avanoff, Maria Alberto. So I see a bunch of people that we love. I know Carrie is out there, Carrie Giason, because I saw a joke come through. And I do think that's one of the things about this show that I like a lot is that there are so many opportunities for people's voices. I think I also saw Chastity out there. So you know, there's a lot of opportunity for people to, you know, be heard, ask questions, you know, think of, you know, where they are having a challenge and then feel comfortable and feel safe vocalizing that challenge, because that for some people is the hardest part, is to raise a hand and say, I need whatever it is. I need clarity. I need a shoulder. I just need to get it out. I need to know what's happening. Why am I not getting anywhere in, you know, my job search, my research, my, you know, my relationships, my confidence level, whatever it is. That kind of support is huge. So I think that this show does a lot to sort of make those opportunities for support available to people. Yeah.
Oh, that's so terrific. And you know, what's so incredibly gratifying is when people get real-time results based on real-time conversation with real people in the now. You know, people will prepare for next Thursday. How in the world are they going to know where their mind is going to be 10 days from now, who the audience is, what it's doing? I mean, it's so stiff, you know, and you can do so much more when it comes just the way you do it, because style is important. Substance is important. Go ahead, Melissa.
But there's room for all of it, right? There's room for people who schedule 6 months out. I have a show that was off the cuff at the moment, 7 days, no more for marketing. I still kind of post that way. If you want to see next week's events, too bad you got to follow me because I haven't posted it yet, right? But I do have people already booked in April. And so it's because they're coming to me, or the conversations are so valuable in the DMs that I have to have them come on. And so I think there's value in both. But if you do it your way, the people who do it that way will show up for you.
Yeah, and it's a little of this, it's a little of that. It's like a buffet, right? And you can like more than one thing without disrespecting anything.
Yep.
And the smarter you are, the more sophisticated you are, the easier it is to understand and communicate versus a shot in the dark. We've got so many people. Let me just share who they are. It's unbelievable the turnout, but you know what it shows is this is the gym you go to get yourself going when you're not going too well. It's like, fill up your tank, change your mindset, which will change your thoughts, which will change your actions. So Paul's here. Thank you so much, Paul. Paul's here almost every day, made a huge contribution yesterday. Mario, can't say enough about Mario. We're talking after the show again. If you've heard his stories, Mario, and where are you going to get stories like that? When are you ever going to meet a gentleman out of Marseille, France, been in 90 countries? He's going off to 3 countries in the next week. He's like a main guy in a luxury cruise line, and now we're buds. I mean, how do you
That's amazing.
Live it? Thanks for being live. I invited Dennis on the show if he wants to catch up on open live chat.
Don, can I just ask a question to the audience? Because I do coffee chats, right? So I need to know who's drinking coffee, who's drinking tea. Today, it's tea. I just have to know.
Well, that's a good question. Go ahead, Gretchen.
I had coffee earlier, but I have switched to water. And yes, that was Newman who barked. So if I go on mute, that's why. I brought him in here because I was worried about him barking outside the closed door to get in, and that backfired. So
What we found, Gretchen, is the more real it gets, the more fun it gets. Because I can relate to let me think. Christine Feedy, right? And she's been a regular, just an unbelievable lady, doing all kinds of juggling and winning, right? Not just struggling. And she finally got on live and the time before the video was off. But she came on with no makeup, kind of pajamas, her daughter running around, the dog here and there. And it was the best time for everybody. Because what it does, it says, I invite you into my life. And this is my life. And I don't have to live 2 lives. And it's better to see what it is before having to find out later when you could have known earlier. Because then everybody can do better for themselves either way. What do you think, Melissa?
Don, I'm in glorified pajamas. I got to calm myself out right now. You guys know this is how I work. If you have followed me, you know I live in comfortable land. And it has pockets for those who love it. I need you to know. Not everybody gets pockets in their dresses.
What's so cool about Melissa and Gretchen? It is an attitude they can't keep down. I mean, it's like a hot springs or something where it just keeps bubbling up. And because
my teachers used to say I should try to keep it down.
Yeah, but with LinkedIn Live, it's got so much amplification power that you need to beef it up, right? I mean, your messages are tremendous, our messages. And if you combine the people here, the brain power, the experiences, their quest for whatever they're into, these are people on the move, or they wouldn't be here. They would be doing something most people do, which is thinking about why it isn't working, and who's to blame, versus like getting up and rising up. That's the key. Don't just get up. If you're going to get up, go all the way. Right, Melissa?
Right. It's action. It's always action. That is the pivotal thing. Once you get your mind right and know what you need to do, you have to do it. I don't care if it's the garage. I don't care if it's the laundry. I don't care if it's dinner for the kids or taking your dog for a walk. You have to be motivated. And once you are, you have to act on that motivation before it's gone. 7 days is usually the amount of time your body can store energy of excitement on something without touching it again. After that, it starts to drop a lot. We know that because sales, right? They're excited when they first want to buy. If you don't get them closed pretty quickly, that excitement dwindles. We're further away. And so it's the same with all things. While you're motivated, while you're excited, just do it. Get it out of the way. It's time management 101 also. And the more you check off your list every morning, the more productive you feel. You just keep going, right? Wow, I did 10 things before I even had coffee this morning.
Yeah.
It's kind of a thing, an object in motion.
Well, and achieving gives you something to want to achieve more with, right? You know, there's a saying, the trend is your friend. And everything you do either takes you closer or further away from your goal, right? And if you want to hang out on dumb TV and then not invest in yourself, building someone else's dream instead of your own. But here's the thing, like I think Melissa made a very astute statement. Everybody is who they are, and that's who they should be, and they should celebrate themselves. They should be their own best friend. I mean, because you can start with you because you're the only thing you have control over. Full control. You can't change people or wish them to change. When it happens, it happens. It's going to happen when it happens. Why take time away from yourself? They say 90% of what you worry about never happens. The 10% it happens, you had no idea how it could have happened. So there's nothing you could have done to prepare it, but you're wasting today's time and your thoughts and your future.
But Don, right? Can't people just plan forever and then the stock market crash? We've seen it. Everybody had a plan. I saw a boxing reference, and I had talked about this previously after doing an event with Troy Holtz, talking about financial planning. And I said I would not want to train with a boxing coach who has never been punched in the face or hit in the mouth, right? Like you're going to be hit at some point. At some point, the engine's going to go, the company's going to lay off, COVID's going to happen, and the ripple that happened nationwide without any control, whether you wanted to stay open or not, it didn't matter, right? And so you have to prepare for that. What are you going to do?
Gretchen?
That's where you kind of referenced a gym earlier, and it reminded me of the positive intelligence PQ reps, the emotional intelligence work that you do. And to me, that's a great way of preparing for that, because to Melissa's point, things are going to drop, things are going to happen. That's the nature of life. And so what do you do to prepare for that? You can only prepare yourself, but if you have the strategies that are going to work for you, whenever the situation is, or there's you get triggered by somebody somewhere, sometime, an event, whatever's going to happen, the techniques, the strategies that you can do for yourself to bring yourself back to yourself, clear the palette of your mind, and keep going and face that. And so that takes practice. But it's incredibly worthwhile to do. Actually, I would take that further and say that it's imperative for everybody to learn how to do, so that it doesn't take a pivotal moment, a heartbreaking event, a real tragedy for you to get that, be able to, have developed that muscle and be able to get through that little by little every day. If you can begin to do that. So, centering yourself and understanding that even in any moment, let's say that you're trying to read, right? This isn't like one of those tragic moments, but it's a scenario that happens. You're trying to read, someone else in your house is doing something, or your dog is barking like Newman. And what do? You have to be able to get into your mind and calm that sea, right? Calm it down and then refocus, so that one, you don't fly off the handle at the thing that you couldn't control, because you can't control that either. So why fly off the handle? Two, you can keep yourself, steady Eddie, maintain that even strain and keep going about what you need to do. You don't derail yourself, you keep going. And so, because again, when you derail yourself, you move into catastrophe land. You're off the rails now. Now everything can get scooped in and fuel that train that's going to take you where you don't want to go. So those PQ reps, that mental gym that you do, it's incredibly important for people to do it. And I really encourage everybody, if you haven't, to give it a try. And like Melissa said, with that 7 days, just give it a try, make a commitment, 5-10 minutes a day for the next 7 days. You don't even have to make it like take over your life, right? Set an alarm on your phone for whatever time is convenient for you. It's the way you start your day, the way you end it, somewhere in the middle, 5 to 10 minutes for the next 7 days. And just be with yourself. Watch that breath come in and out. You'll notice it's, cooler on the in breath than it is on the out breath, whatever you need to do. But think about that. We talked a few shows ago about some simple breathing exercises when you are absolutely like, that's it. I'm going to go off, right? I'm going to go nuclear on somebody or something, and take that moment to say, no, we're not doing this today. You don't own me in that way today. No. And we're going to take a few breaths.
We just had this, right? Like on the show this week, we had something come up where I felt, as the host, I was required to do something. I had to say something because somebody had seen it. I saw it. Somebody else may have. And so we addressed it, but I was angry. And guys, I don't really get angry a lot because I'm usually pretty happy. I get to color for a living. Like, I get to live in my glitter. It's great. But it takes a moment to take pause. What is the purpose of the anger? And how am I going to use it? I'm writing a story. I'm writing a story either way. I always say it, right? So what kind of story am I going to write? Is it the mindset coach who lost her mind? That's an interesting one. I'll probably get a few readers, probably not clients, but readers, right? Or is it somebody who was able to get angry, identify they were angry, address it immediately, come back, think it through, maybe talk it through on the podcast, which I did with myself, right? Yeah. It's me by myself, just having this conversation, and then being able to come back to LinkedIn and having a dialogue about it. It's the same with all things, though, right? Because I think it's important. I know we're here to help job seekers, and so bringing it to job seeking. How do you prepare yourself for that market? It's an ugly one, right? Like, we're not lying. It's ugly. We know it's not fun to look for work. It's just not. I don't know many who enjoy it. But if you are prepared with what you want, what you need, what your negotiables are, what your non-negotiables are, it's a lot easier to navigate it. It's a lot easier to slide a cover letter over if you know what that is supposed to entail, and you don't have to figure out, well, what should I tell them I want? Right? Yeah. It's just addressing the resume to fit the job description, but not changing you to fit the job.
I also think, too, that when you're talking about helping job seekers, the other thing, too, is, a lot of the uphill battle, and again, this is true, like it, lump it, make your mind up to it. A lot of the uphill battle is here. It is here. So when you have a response you didn't want, you hold that, right? You deposit that into a bank, and it's not a good one, right? And then you get another one, and then it adds to that. And now we're creating a narrative. I'm never going to get this. It's not going to happen for me. The last, they didn't want to talk to me. And so we have to understand, not necessarily, we have to understand why those things happen. So again, for me, I know, like, I have a couple things that I do that my pleaser is my biggest saboteur, like a lot of women, right? But my pleaser is my biggest one. And I have a name for that, thing. And I call her Little Yessie. She gets me in trouble. But the behavior is behavior. It's not me. And so when I am having those other thoughts of, I can't do this, it didn't work the last time, it's not going to work this time, that's a judging statement that I'm making on myself. And I have to understand, like, okay, judgy, like, let's not get all judgy on here. Just because it didn't work last time, what did we learn from that? And people kind of have reactions to that, like, oh, that doesn't really work. I challenge you, just like with the 7 days we talked before, start to call out when you notice those behaviors in yourself, because they're not you. They're just behaviors. They come from somewhere. And so when you can identify where that behavior is coming from, and you can begin to know the things that are going to bring it about, you also can begin to pre-plan in here where everything happens, how not to do that to yourself. And have a different reaction, have a different opinion about that, and understand that we're all going to get into that judgmental thing. We're all going to do those things, but that's not us. That's a behavioral cue that's a response. It doesn't always have to be the response. And again,
even if it's true, right? How long are you going to let it be true? That's
Well,
up to you to change. Even if you're right, change it. Don't own it.
well, and that's a good point because, I've lived longer than anybody on this show. And I've got experience and wisdom that I paid for or I was blessed and given to, right? You come into the world with nothing, the worst you can do is break even, right? So when you look at your confidence in yourself, I mean, we're talking as if people are confident one day and not confident another day. Some people are supremely confident and are so involved in something so important to them that the outside noise, like I said, they never built a statue for a critic yet. People who aren't doing what you're doing, aren't who you are, have no right to tell you what you should be doing or how well you're doing or how well you're not doing. And you have got no right to let them even have that opportunity. Because if it's good enough to have, it's good enough to defend and protect and nurture, right?
And that's why I think having empathy for yourself is such an important thing. And it's something that, I have been very guilty in my life, as a lot of people have, of not having empathy for myself, being very harsh on yourself. But being able to say, you know what, it's okay. It's okay if that didn't work. It's okay if I didn't get that done. It's okay if, that person chose somebody other than me to work with or, partner with or whatever. Like, that's okay. What can I take from? What can I learn from it? And again, it's one of those practice things, the more you do, right? Anything, the more flexible and big that muscle gets. We've talked about the confidence muscle on here. We've talked about building the mindset muscle. We've talked about all those things and the empathy muscle so that, when somebody comes to you and says, you should, I wouldn't, blah, 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 and has a judgment on something that you're doing, instead of wasting time, like you said, don't worry about how they feel. I have empathy for people who want to tell me how to live my life, who aren't living my life. But I have the little, it's techniques that I do where I try to picture them as a child and hold them in, in a soft spot and try to have empathy for them, but also for myself and understanding that, that's great that somebody thought enough of me to pay so much attention that they would form an opinion to tell me how to do it better. Thank you for that attention to me. I will take a little bit of that and I will tuck it away. And the rest of it, I'm going to smile and say, thank you and no. And that's,
Gretchen, did you see this comment? I'm sorry. I have to address it. Christine, I see you. I hear you. I have a cousin who let me know because my mom passed in August that my forehead is too big and I need bangs. It's a whole post on LinkedIn. You can go find it. I'm that girl. I just put myself out there like that. But I'll tell you, when I started college, my mom had a very similar conversation. And what she said to me when she heard I enrolled was, oh, you're going to fail out, just like I did. First thing my mom said as soon as I signed up for college. And it has taken 2 decades or more of turning it, thinking, learning, self-reflecting, looking at the source. And what I know is she saw everything she had failed me in my life with, like all of her shortcomings, all of her things that she was feeling were detrimental to her parenting. She saw 50% of that immediately in me, half of it right out of the gate, because she is 50% of what I am. And so she was holding me hostage to her shortcomings. And I refused to be a victim. If you look at my banner, it's up to you to decide. I was a welfare baby. I was a lady who had a child on welfare and I had $247 a month to live on. I can't even fathom that now. That's like Friday night at Target, right? Like I can't imagine being in that life anymore. But I had to let go of her expectations of my failure. She was right. I failed out of college. I don't have college loan debt like others, right? And so that's okay. It wasn't my path. It could have been successful. I'm really good at school. I was in all of the high honors when I was there, but do you anyway. Your mom's not going to be your purchasing person. Your mom's not going to be the one hiring you. Your mom's not going to be the one that you're talking to. Your mom's the one who created the need for you to speak on it. So love her where she is. Maybe block her.
Yeah, well, I think like we've talked about, everything is what it is. So there's not a question of what it is. It's what you make out of it for how long you want to make out of it. If you drop a glass and it breaks yesterday, you're not going to go back and put it back together. But, the thing is I was just thinking about it when I woke up this morning. And, I'm doing this every day. So I get so many ideas and energy and thoughts when it's over that by the time I digest it, it's starting fresh and everybody's here again. It's almost like go home for 23 hours, freshen up and come back and let's continue. And what I thought is the only thing that matters to people is your story, right? There's a saying, stories sell, facts tell. And if you just keep telling facts, you're just going to be telling people stuff instead of really moving people. And what's so important about this is that when you realize that all you got to be is what you already have been, right? If you're dealing with kids, how innocent they are, how excited about the future, how they think they can be anything, an astronaut, a president, an NBA player, whatever it is. And over time, dream stealers show up, like Melissa says. You're not tall enough. You're not smart enough. You're not this enough. And
Don, you said something, though, I almost want to correct with respect, right? They think they can be anything, but that's not true. They know they can, and we tear that out of them. They know they're going to be a teacher. They know they're going to be a cowboy. They know they're going to be a whatever. And then we tell them why they can't be. Their whole life, we give them reasons why they can't and hurdles to jump to get there and excuses and reckoning and our fears and our concerns, right? There's people out there making money, $250 an hour, blowing bubbles at a 2-year-old's birthday party.
Mm-hmm.
And I love those people. I love bubbles. But imagine, what if your mom told you could have blown bubbles for a living? I've seen the TikTok where some guy's watching, like a guy's just like kind of beating on this lady's body, massaging her, and he goes, "Where was he on, career day?" Stop telling people what they can't be. Stop.
Yeah, and I think too, for a lot of people of a certain, at a certain age or generation, that thought path, that linear kind of path through life that was like the path, wherever the guidebook was, whoever wrote it. It was a one-way street and you weren't supposed to deviate or think outside that lane or that box. And, that's a challenge for some people to get past. I actually see this though in my practice where I'll work with people come to me and they're, something has happened in their professional situation and it's different. And we'll talk about how unhappy they were before and how it could be an opportunity to look for something new. And what do you think they look for? 9 times out of 10, the exact same thing they weren't happy doing before, because that's the mindset that says there's this one path and you need to stay on it because you got to accumulate. You got to get this, you got to do that. You got to have the title, you got to blah, blah, blah. Instead of what do you want to do? And really think about that. What makes you happy? Go back as far as you can into what makes you happy. And I've told this one before, but many years ago, I had a client and he was, and this really is going to date this client, but he worked for a newspaper. He was an agate, he was on the sports desk. He did agate type, if anybody knows what that is. And so this was when newspapers were beginning to go through the first convulses of their now failure, right? And so he knew that he was going to be let go and he didn't know what he was going to do. And because I've only ever worked for newspapers, I've only ever been on the sports desk, and nobody's hiring right now. What am I going to do? And I'm like, well, I know what it's like to be on a newspaper on the U desk. I know when AP photographers submit their cut lines. I know you're also a writer because you got to correct all that stuff. But let's go further into that. Beyond writing, beyond all of that, what do you like to do? What do you like to do? Well, I didn't ask you if you could make money at it. I asked you what you liked to do. And he said the thing that he really loved to do in his spare time, the thing that made him the happiest was his garden. He had a garden and he grew all kinds of stuff. And I was like, cool. My dad had a garden, when I was growing up, and that's pretty cool. But I could never make money doing it. Okay. Why? Well, because I'm not a farmer. I'm not going to be a farmer. Okay. So while we were talking, I just happened to go online and I'm looking up, horticulture, this, that, and the other, whatever. And as it turned out, he was in Birmingham. He worked for the Birmingham News at the time, or he was about to lose that job. But the Birmingham Botanical Gardens were actually looking for somebody to help them begin to scope out new territory and how they were going to, there was like a couple of new exhibits they were going to do. that was right up his alley. Oh, but I don't have any history doing that. Like, I've never done that for a job. So nobody's going to hire me. Dude, how do you plan your gardens? He had notebooks full of like schematics and designs and planting
Of documentation? Is that what you said? He had documentation?
Right. And so all this stuff that he had to tell him when was the right time, what to plant, in what, like, order, and those kind of things, how wide the rows should be, how, like, all this stuff. And I said, if you can just, interview or try to get that one in a different way, go there, meet them, bring the notebooks, show them, tell them your story. Like you said, your experience is so important. It's why when I work with people who are just at the genesis of their professional career, right? They have no work history, but they have relevant experience that they can bring to bear. People who are re-entering the workforce after a time away, you have relevant experience you can bring to bear. Again, your resume is not a what I got paid for document. It's a what I can do document, So that is something also to remember for job seekers is don't limit yourself. But for anybody, to Melissa's point, what do you like to do? Really think about that. And then go to town on just extrapolate. Like, what are all the things I might be able to do with this? There is an unlimited amount of opportunity out there if we can take off the blinders that are keeping us on this one linear track that we think is the way. If it was the way, are we happy? Why are people jumping off? Because it's not the way. Well, there are other ways.
That's so important and so profound. I want everybody to know that the link to coming on now is in comments on this post. So if you're of the inclination, we'd love to have you. Really, I just want to recognize individuals like Mario. The fundamental key is not to focus on the money. Money will come when you do what you love, as it will no longer be a job. It becomes a profitable job. But you're so right. And, it's not what it is. It's how you look at it. And the way you look at it is the way it's going to show up for you, because I believe in manifesting what you believe in if you really believe in it. And whatever. Go ahead.
You guys, how many times have we heard people say, oh, it's not like it used to be. People used to just hire right as soon as you walked in. But let me ask you this. What were they hiring? They weren't walking in and Bob went, I want to work. And they said, great, Bob. They said, Bob, tell me about yourself. Tell me who you are. And so you guys want to do this. You got to bring the stories back. It's exactly what she said. That's how it worked before, is they hired your story because that's what they had. They didn't do resumes. They talked to you during the interview to get your story about what you put on the paper. Now, there's rules and laws and regulations that limit how we can converse about certain topics, and rightly so. But that doesn't mean we need less story. When you say, hey, I was laid off because of COVID. Great. What did you do? Did you organize your garage? Did you clean your house? Did you balance your checkbook and save 40% of your income by streamlining your finances? What did you do? Tell them the story of being off. Don't just say I was there. Because then people will go, hey, you were streaming hopelessly. No, sir, that's my Sunday event. That's what Melissa did yesterday. I don't do that 6 other days of the week. This is what I was doing. Right?
Yeah. Well, I think that if you're happy, you're doing the right thing. So if you let happiness be your guide, and just follow your happiness, because everything else, if you're happy, will come together, because you'll be projecting that to people. People are attracted to the intangibles. When I hired people, and I own my own company, and they were huge companies for 37 years, I was the hirer. I never had a resume. And I'll tell you what, today, people on their own are in such much better shape, because in the past, all you had was 2 sheets of paper that you put in a big envelope and dropped off or mailed, and you got part of a stack of 800 for one position. And somebody like me is looking for reasons to throw out applications, right? Punctuation's wrong, didn't spell this right. I mean, it's so superficial, but that's what you're working with. Now you get a chance to broadcast who you are as long as you want. I mean, you can get on LinkedIn Live and be here for 8 hours. And you'll
Listen, guys, Don just told you he wouldn't hire me. Because you've never seen my post. No, Don, and I love you for this, but honestly, you would not based on my resume, because I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to grammar in this, but here I am because of my story, right?
Yeah.
I showed up and I told my story and you didn't care.
Yeah, but I did the exact opposite of that.
Yeah.
Because what I was looking for in people were people who had desire, had all the attributes, but on the surface, nobody would touch them,
Yeah.
right? Because of things beyond their control, or just because today I'm going to be different. The past should never define someone's future. It should be the building blocks to where they are to pivot. But, you know, I hired so many people, so many kids just barely got out of high school. But they were driven. I mean, they were, and you know what? When you gave them an opportunity, they did nothing to hurt it. You know, I mean, because it was so hard to get. So it was the desire, because you could teach skills, and it was the politeness. The first thing I ever looked at, are they looking me in the eye?
Yep.
If someone won't look me in the eye, I can't, you know, this is the future. If you can't sell yourself, how are you going to sell something for somebody else? And not only that, is when you put a bunch of what some people would call misfits, and individually they were, but collectively they created a mosaic that everybody took care of each other. I mean, at one time I had 72 people working there. My daughter worked with me for 8 years, was my right-hand person at the end. She came in like a lamb, came out like a lioness, but she loved recognition. We'd have 72 birthday cakes a year. We'd have a bowling night every month, and every family, friends, everybody. I want to know grandparents, uncles, you know, because when everybody's involved, everybody supports each other. And then, you know, go ahead.
Sorry, Don, we got some questions coming in down here that I don't want to lose, and we've got a lot of comments pouring in. Tanya, hi, I see you. But Maria had a question. If someone loves to make Italian food and wants to specialize in one type of sauce, how would you go about that from home situation? Do you want to go, Gretchen? You want Don? You guys? Okay, so what I would do is just call locally to your city and say, hey, I want to make sauce at home. What do I got to do? Right? That's the first thing. You got to figure out what the rules are. They can tell you how to do it, but then also farmers markets are really easy to get into, and people go there for these products. That is where they live. You can also try Etsy if you can get shipping down, but I wouldn't recommend it with food to start. Try to go local, see how you do. What do you think, Gretchen?
The other thing I would suggest is, yes, that is brilliant. And farmers markets are so cool. There is a woman that I follow only because her business story is really interesting. She has a candle making company, but she documented the whole thing, and her YouTube channel blew up because people really wanted to understand the business part, not necessarily the candle making part, but the business part of it. So for Maria, you know, make your sauce, share it digitally with people, share people eating it, right? The emotion of what it tastes like, you know, just, and again, if you go to
us to try it.
And if you go to a farmer's market, ask people to do a taste test and just live stream it, do a short on it, something like that. But show people, you know, while you're making it, show them while they're eating it, show them the emotion behind your joy in making it. Wow. And then the joy that you get to, you know, share as people try it for the first time. You can do all of those, and it doesn't require as much effort as you would think. And I would say do that. You know, really begin to share that. There's a lady on YouTube also she does like slow cooking. I don't cook anything. My husband cooks everything in our home, but I love the fact that she's just this older lady in the middle of America, and she does like crock pot cooking, and she makes sauerkraut and all this other stuff that does not interest me at all. But I love the joy that she has in creating these things, because when she's doing it and she's talking about why it matters and what it, you know, why her family loves it and her friends and how she makes these things and she gives them to people. Do that, Maria. Show people your joy for doing it, and they will eat that up, and then they'll eat your sauce.
I watch TikToks for the same reason, right? I hear problems all the time. And so when I hear, I don't know how to food prep, I don't cook. I tell people, well, hey, I just saw this TikTok. Let me share it. Here's 12 ways to turn one dinner into 5, you know, or something new. The sauces, talk about how you can use a sauce beyond a pasta, because people get stalled out. And so if you give them ways to use your product that are new and not the norm, people get excited and they start experimenting too.
Yeah, and I also think too, because you mentioned Tanya, and I know Tanya just shared that her daughter has a granola thing. Tanya's a business coach. So I am not a business coach. That's outside of my realm of expertise, but Tanya is a business coach. So
And
that
I
might
just
be,
kind of do this.
and that might be something, well, Melissa can do everything. So, but that might be an area to kind of feel out and maybe see if there's something there. I mean, she's here, connect with her if you're not already connected, because that is, there's a lot of opportunity, I guess is what I'm saying. And to
And
Melissa's
coffee
point,
chats, guys.
yeah, and
Right.
do different things. Absolutely. Look up people who are in like the commercial food space or just restaurateurs in your local area who might be, here, wherever digitally. Look them up, invite them to a coffee chat, invite them to whatever, and just talk to them about how did they get started? When you, and
David
again,
Furman is one that I recommend a lot. He's with Fermano Foods. It's a family business. They've been engaged for 100 years, but they do tomato stuff. And so talk to him. He does free coffee chats. Just ask him. That's the value of LinkedIn, right? We're all here because we're willing to give it away for free. And how many of our friends do? 15 minutes at a time.
And here I think what we're touching on is there's communities for everything. So, whether it's LinkedIn community that will talk about this, when I was in the tool business, they had guys that had clubs that they would race belt sanders, right? They like people soup up lawnmowers or something. These guys would soup up their belt sanders and race them against each other. And for Denver, there's probably 25, 30 people. And so there's something for everybody. On LinkedIn, there's 900 million people. If only 1% are like you, that's 9 million, right? Or maybe it's, it's a lot. So the point is reach out. We're always talking about empowering yourself, getting better, doing better. A lot of people, they need a tow truck at sometimes to get them out of the ditch, right? To get them on their feet, to make them feel happy. And when you're strong, what you give to someone who's weak hurts you so little, but helps them so much. And you build, I think, not only goodwill, but you put it out in the universe. I mean, I believe faith is the belief in something you can't see, but you believe just the same. And if you can share that, you're a rarity to people. What it used to be, like I say, what'd you do? What'd you learn? I was always taught a formal education will make you a living, a self-education will make you a fortune, right? Because you don't want to be a conformist. You don't want to get stamped out. You want to flourish. And there's enough of you now. Before, there was one door in and one door out. And that's all you can do is throw more at it. Now you can be more with it, because
LinkedIn's the equalizer, right? We don't have to pay for time to be in front of people. This is not something I had to pay for. It's not a Super Bowl commercial I have to harness the funds for. I can go live at any time and I can get the people who want to listen here. They're already filtering for me. If you don't want to be here, you're not. So anybody who's here is ready to act, and that's a value that most people are just sleeping on. If you're not going live, if you're not going to audio events, if you're not at least engaging in the comments like Tanya is, and like Dean coming from YouTube, right? He's not even on LinkedIn. That is a ripple. That's huge, guys. And what did we do? We showed up to give you free advice.
Yeah, and here's the thing with all these people.
Sorry, Gretchen, what?
We get so excited, but you have so much value in front of you. Like Melissa says, reach out to Tanya, reach out to Paul, just say what's true. We were on the show together. I looked at your comments. I mean, what's real is real. Use it. I'd love to connect with you. And if someone's really aligned, then say, hey, let's have a call if it's convenient. And all you did was take something you already experienced. And that's the key. Time in, return back, right? It's just like money in, money out. If you're getting more value for time you're investing in certain places, it's a clue to start redirecting more time to that. Check out Melissa's opportunity. Check out Gretchen's flight attendant. You can never have enough, right? You don't just watch one show on TV. You watch based on what you're interested in or what you're feeling. But more importantly, if we lock arms together, because there's one thing about believing, it's another about activating, right? And the key is to go to work. You know, to Melissa's point, if you want a job and you can't find it, get on LinkedIn Live and keep talking 8 hours every day for a couple of weeks, right? And just keep talking, right?
Like, don't do that. That's exhausting. Do not do 8 hours live. Please
But
don't. Do 8 days a week instead. I would recommend that first.
You know,
Like,
I guess,
but
no.
no, get out here and talk, guys. Have conversations. Conversations happen. Nobody's going to come to your couch and go, come here. We're going to take you to the job now. Nobody knows you're looking unless you tell them. Nobody knows you're hungry unless you say, hey, what's for dinner? Right? And so that's important. But I think intention. Why are you here? Gretchen and I have this conversation once a week. Why are you here? What are you doing? Like, we talk at least once a week with each other. I don't even know how many times she brings it up in her sessions. It's every time with me. But if you are limited on a resource, you have to be careful with it. If it's money, you're careful. You're broke. You got $100 till payday, and payday's 10 days away. That's $10 a day, right? Boom. What happens when I tell you you have time limited here, but you don't know what the budget is? How would you redirect your day if I told you you're running out of time right now, but I can't tell you how much you have left? What would you shift from? How many times have we had a conversation, Gretchen? Would you put your loved one in your life right now in that environment that you're struggling with? And if not, why are you in it? Right. What do you think, Gretchen?
I think, you know, when you do that, when you understand like why you are where you are and what you're doing, you get real clear real quick. And again, it's those, when if a doctor says you have 6 months, you get real clear real quick. If you don't, and again, if somebody says your time's running out, you know, either in this, you know, interview, this job, this wherever, I can't tell you how much time you have left, but I know it's running out. You get real clear real quick. And so one of the things that I wanted to kind of, you know, tack on to what you guys were saying, especially to the question that was asked, is, and to anybody who's just not sure, know where your people are, right? Where is the person that could be the potential market for what you have? Whether it's the market for the job you want, right? That's a market that you want to speak to. Whether it's a market for the sauce you're making, that's a market. You know, where are they? Because talking is great, but you got to know where the audience that can hear you and wants it is. And LinkedIn is great. LinkedIn is what, 900 million active accounts. That's a huge amount of people. So yeah, get active here. You know, you could put a little bit of video behind your profile badge. You could just film it on your phone. You have to film it on your phone. You have to upload it on the mobile app. But you could show yourself making that sauce. You could show yourself keying music if that's what you do. You could show yourself, you know, creating a learning card or something. But you could show yourself doing the activity and do a voiceover if you don't want to be on camera. In addition to that, you also have to understand that there are so many platforms. Again, this is being streamed. There's somebody here from YouTube, right? Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, you know, Restream lets them all. Pinterest has video in beta right now. And don't poo-poo Pinterest, because the people who go to Pinterest go there with the intention of spending money, because they're looking to learn a craft, take a class, go on vacation. What are they doing? But that is a very important platform. There are 2.7 billion people on YouTube. That's a third of the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I have to say, Gretchen, real quick before I lose it, and it's going to go right now. Oh, okay. So the sauce, guys, maybe you can't talk to the CEO of a sauce company, but can you talk to somebody who works serving samples at Costco about how to get them to stop at your booth at the farmer's market and talk to them there? Do you know how much value is there? Everybody's trying to sell. But what if you learn how to have a conversation with people who are walking by and you want to shove something in their mouth? That's not easy to do. Mm-hmm. Most strangers don't want you to feed them because they don't know you, they don't like you, they don't trust you. But if you can learn from those who learn how to get that trust,
right? Because again, that's your hook. What is food? Food is comfort for a lot of people. You know, is it just like your grandma used to make? Is it like tomatoey? Like, what is it? That's your marketing hook. That's what's going to get people to notice you. And so whatever that looks like, but you want to think about that. And again, you know, we have business coaches here. We have other coaches, you know, and again, Don makes a really good point that the live environment is a great opportunity. I mean, you could go live making your sauce. I'm just saying, and invite people to talk about it. You know, what did they love about being in the kitchen with their mom? What did they love about the first time they learned how to whatever, canned tomatoes, or I don't cook, but those kind of things. Tap into that, because what Melissa said early on in the show about emotion and what makes people make a purchasing decision, it's emotion based. That's why we buy things. That's why we engage with each other.
Mario just said his brother-in-law owns Rose Hills Foods in Canada.
Hello.
To reach out to him, because that's what this is about. That's what
Yep.
community really is. It's not people talking the talk. It's
Right.
people actually reaching out and being out there, showing you could step out of the shadows, showing you could step out of yourself, and show you could step into somebody's life. Because I know what Mario's thinking. I can help my brother-in-law and this person all at the same time. And all I got to do is write an exchange between them. And that's all you have to do. People overthink it. They worry too much. They do all that stuff. You're saying, Melissa?
Tanya, wait, before Tanya goes, I need to grab her, and she says she has to get on a session. So listen, Tanya, your people travel. You just said it, right? They're traveling to seek out the things they want. Stay still. They'll come back. They're traveling. Round trip. They'll be back. Don't go anywhere. Stop chasing them. Be you where you're comfortable, and your people will show up. I have people on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn. If they want to talk to me, they come here, but they can get the content over there too if that's where they choose to eat it, right? But don't chase them. Don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's great advice everybody's getting and giving. And that's the key, is what you give, you more than get back. But you got to have time. You got to have some patience. And you got to feel good about going first without feeling like I'm waiting for someone to pay me back. The giving is the getting. And then anything more is the gravy. Mario even throws in his where that is. So Gretchen?
I just want to mention, I think that what Mario's doing and what we've seen from Paul and some other people is the example of how the community can come out and support you and help get you, the answers that you need, right? And I also think that it goes back to what I think everybody here said is find what you love and do it, and other things will happen. You don't have to, chase the whatever the moving target is. Do what you love consistently and keep doing it. And again, consistency of action over time is the story, right? Even if it's consistency of thought, whatever it is, but that's still action. Do what you love. Don't worry about the other stuff, because that is a natural thing that will happen. And again, people are like, well, I don't know, I don't believe it. Don't put a timestamp on it. Do what you love.
Well, if you look at it, how many people pay so much for educations and won't invest in themselves, right? They'll give somebody 4 years and a couple $100,000. And what people don't realize, when you graduate, they call that commencement. And what that means, this is the start of your education. This is not the end. This is where you keep going. And some people think because they got a piece of paper, versus if you put that 4 years into LinkedIn, I guarantee you, to the point of consistency and repetition, you get better with time, because the audience starts shaping you. It starts polishing you. It starts telling you things. And if you're open and fluid and flexible, and you want to go with the flow, not against it, the last place you want to be is standing in front of a bus instead of right inside of it. And too many people are trying to do too much with too little too soon, with not the best attitude, and then they just prove themselves right again by being wrong again. So with that said, I really respect people for the top of the hour. I know people got to move and go places and do things. I want to thank Melissa. I want to thank Gretchen again. I want to thank the audience, especially because you showed up today. And that's 90% of just showing up, being here, being with people. And like I say, if you can't do it, maybe we can, or maybe we can help in some way. Melissa, you want to say words?
Yeah, coaching is the Cliff Notes of college, guys. I mean, it's not going to get you a degree. It's not going to give you the full story. You're not going to get all of the takeaways, but we're going to be able to give you some bullet points to get ahead without having to do 4 years of work, whether it's on the job or in school. I am a GED and a smile. If I asked my high school educators and my career consultants what I needed to become a managing director of a background screening company, they would say a degree. They were wrong. I needed glitter. Right. And so it depends on how you do it. I showed up, I was good at what I did. I wouldn't sell anything I didn't believe in. I became the top seller because I believed in my product. But that's because I was picky about where I started. So figure out who you want to be. I would not be a good used car salesman because I would feel gross. I would sell water, right? Everybody needs it. Everybody loves it. I think you should drink it. But I'm here to help you figure out that next step. While you were in college, they were hiring you to do sales because they were waiting for you or whatever to run the company. That's cool. But now you have to do sales too, and you don't know how to do it because I've been doing it and you've been learning. That's the value. Same with Gretchen, career consulting. She is the queen. I don't even want it. I'm the princess. She's the queen. Don, he's already done it a bunch of times. The value's already there. So pick your poison, right? Who is your coach? Who is that thing? Who is that person? They can be your mentor. You can follow them for free. You don't even have to pay for it. YouTube is a free college. Go take the resources, but move with intention or you're wasting time and energy and resources all over the place.
Yep.
That's all I got. Do it with color and glitter too.
Excellent advice, and your participation has been invaluable. Your personality and your desire to help people is obvious. And that's one thing we all have in common. And, you know, no one has to make a big decision. Like Melissa says, you can watch Gretchen's programming, Melissa's, mine. It's free, it's available, it's accessible. And here's what's more important. All of our stuff is already cataloged on our profiles, right? You don't have to wait for a 9 o'clock. You don't have to, Kimberly. So, you know, go back and binge us. You know, if you binge a series, right? Why not say 6 hours of Gretchen? I'm just going to infuse myself, or 6 hours of Melissa and see what it does, or take an hour, or 10 minutes, a minute. Yeah. It really doesn't matter. It's just start redirecting your time and attention where you're building your dream instead of somebody else's, and you feel good about yourself every day because you learn something. Or your mind is in better shape. You know, a lot of times you just need a closet organizer, right? You already got what you need. Just need someone to go in there and take a fresh look with some fresh eyes, put the stuff you like here, make it clean, make it easy to find, put the other stuff off to the side. And now it's like, you know, it's a catharsis. So Gretchen, last words. This has been great. Thank you so much for Melissa, because the dynamics get better as you include more people, right? If it's me, I'm good for 10 minutes. That's how I used to be when I did this by myself, you know, and then when I added somebody, it became 25, 30 minutes. But then when we had the audience drive the car, now it's people just want the party to keep going. And that's the beauty of it, is it makes it easy when everybody likes everybody, when everybody's respectful. There wasn't one LinkedIn question today again, which has been like 2 months that no one ever said, I had a post issue, I didn't know how to publish something. You know,
I don't know. We gave sauce advice, Don.
Yeah, but that's sauce advice. It's not technical. It's
that's
not
a question. Listen, the great thing, and maybe you don't know, but Silly Putty was determined to not be a cleaning product by the users. If they need us for this, I'm happy to be that, right? So it's cool. They asked, but it wasn't technically what we expected, maybe.
No, and I think that's what's cool, is we never would have talked about it if it wasn't brought up, right? Yep. So really the conversation is here to it, and it's still working towards it. So anyways, with that said, it's 9:59. Thank you so much. Come back tomorrow. Come back every day, 11 a.m. Eastern time, and we're here for you. And hopefully everybody got something that justified their time, because that's the reason we're here. So with that said, bye for now.